Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Field's Guide to Abduction by Julie Mulhern, narrated by Renée Chambliss. 1. If Chambliss said it once, she said it 1,000 times. It's a good thing you don't want to be an actress. The only thing you're fit for is screwball comedies, and they're dead. Those words ran through my head. Not the actress part. I didn't want to be an actress. That whole dive into real emotions and share them with the world thing? No, thank you. But the screwball comedy part? Chambliss had a point. My life was a screwball comedy. How else to explain my current dilemma? I was naked and locked in a bathroom. A man I'd sworn never to speak to again slept on the other side of the door. I closed my eyes and saw myself as Kate Hudson, which would make him Matthew McConaughey. He'd like the sexy part of that comparison. Even with my eyes closed, I saw his slow grin. Felt his slow grin all the way to my toes. Nope, never again. Never. Today was the start of a new life. No more drinking. No more clubs. No more sexy, dangerous men who were bad for me. Especially not the one in the bedroom. I crossed my heart, hoped to die. That might actually be happening. My head hurt that badly. And rested my forehead against the locked door. What did I drink last night? I had vague recollections of a bar. Dark pulsing lights. Dark pulsing music. Test tubes filled with something sweet. The man. The ridiculously sexy man. Jake. How many times could one woman make the same mistake? Apparently a zillion. Or at least 3. Why hadn't I grabbed my phone before my mad dash to the bathroom? Screwball comedy, it was the only answer. I lurched, Frankenstein, but less graceful, to the sink, turned on the tap, and drank deeply. Straight from the faucet. My mouth wasn't just dry. Dry would have felt like a spring shower compared to the arid wasteland behind my gums. I drank till my stomach sloshed. Then I ran my tongue over my teeth. Moss. Where the hell was the toothpaste? Not on the counter. Not in any obvious place. I rubbed a wet finger against my teeth. Better than nothing. Slightly. Then I held a hand in front of my mouth, exhaled, and sniffed. Ugh. If I wanted to get rid of Jake forever, all I had to do was breathe on him. How was it even possible for breath to smell that bad? I needed toothpaste, and something, anything, for my headache. Where? The whole damned bathroom was white marble and mirrors. I would not look in those mirrors. Would not. No drawers, no medicine cabinets, no razor or hairbrush or deodorant, no Ambien or Xanax or even Excedrin. Just white marble and a single bar of soap. I splashed water around my eyes, reached for the soap, and sniffed. Joe Malone, Jake's favorite. The man hadn't brought a toothbrush, but he remembered his precious soap. The scents of lime, basil, and mandarin did nothing for the roiling in my stomach, but I washed my hands and face. After I rinsed, the scents, his scents, lingered. The towel I used was uber fluffy, hotel fluffy, A hotel? Please, no. I squeezed my eyes closed and broke out in a tequila-scented sweat. A walk of shame through a hotel lobby was more than I could bear. And if anyone took a picture? I rested my palms on the edge of the counter, opened my eyes, and faced the woman in the mirror. A celery-hued paleness in my cheeks spoke of a wild night. That and the bags beneath my bloodshot eyes. I could pack for Europe in those bags. And my hair? I poked at it, gingerly, as if my finger might get stuck. I had crossed a screwball comedy line. Kate Hudson would never look this awful. God help me if there were photographers in the lobby. I wrapped myself in a towel, staggered to the door, and pressed my ear against its cool expanse. Not a peep on the other side. I cracked the door. Thank God the room wasn't bright. As it was, I squinted into the lavender glow of early morning, sneaking through the gaps in the drapes. The dim light revealed a dresser littered with glasses and a half-empty tequila bottle. There, panties on the floor. Bra, black against the bed's white sheets. Dress draped across the chair. Shoes? I'd find them when I wasn't naked. I tiptoed toward the panties. Tiptoed because talking to the man in the bed might be the only thing worse than my headache. He didn't move, not an inch. I hooked the panties with my big toe. Bending over wasn't an option. My brains might leak out of my ears. Kicked them into the air, caught them, and, using the bedpost for balance, slid them on. With one hand still clutching the towel, I tiptoed to my side of the bed and reached for the bra tangled among the pillows. I tugged and tugged. Damn it. I tugged harder, and the wisp of silk and lace came free. I stumbled backward, thunk, right into the bedside table. A glass teetering on the table's edge fell onto the hardwood floor and shattered. The crash reverberated through the bedroom, through my skull. Loud, so loud, loud enough to wake the dead. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. Jake slept. The tequila bottle on the dresser snickered and wagged a judgmental finger at me. You're so clumsy when you're hungover. I narrowed my eyes and shot Senor Cuervo a death glare. Who was I kidding with the senor? Jose and I were on a first-name basis. Go to hell, Jose. What would I say if Jake did wake up? About last night, remember when I said never again? I totally meant it. Now, this moment, this morning, us. It's a mistake. It won't happen again. Ever. He'd just smile that cat and canary smile of his and charm me back into bed. Why? Why? I knew better. He knew better. But my life was a screwball comedy, so, of course, I'd gone to bed with the man who'd broken my heart. Twice. I stood straighter. I was over him. Getting over him had taken more tears, bottles of tequila, and quarts of ice cream than I cared to count. But he'd been out of my system. And now this. If I snuck out without talking to him, my heart might not shatter. All I needed was my dress. A field sea of broken glass separated me from the black silk. If I'd felt halfway decent, I could have leapt over the shards. I didn't feel an eighth of the way decent. Every muscle in my body hurt. What exactly had we done to make my calves ache? Never mind. La 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 la. I didn't want to know. If I stepped there, and there, and there, I could reach the dress without shredding my feet. 1 step, 2 steps, 3... Son of a bitch! I clamped one hand over my mouth and hopped on my uninjured foot. Hop, hop, hop. Into the dresser. Thunk! Pain shot through my hip. That would leave a mark. The tequila bottle snickered again. Well, Jose and I were done. Forever. I meant it this time. Unlike those other times were passing fancies. I shot him another death glare. Done. Adios. Finito. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Jose smirked. I planned my route to the damned dress. Just a few steps. Easy steps without a cut foot and an epic hangover. With both, I had this. Step, step, 1 more step. I leaned. I reached. I snatched the dress off the chair. Jake didn't move. Thank God for small favors. I shimmied into my dress. Shoes, where were they? I looked down at my foot. A pool of blood had formed beneath my toes. No way was I jamming a bloody foot into my new Louboutins. Maybe there was a bandage in that bathroom. At least there was a towel. I limped back to all that whiteness, leaving a bloody trail behind me. The bathroom really was enormous. The glass shower enclosure was larger than most cars, and the damned mirrors went on for miles. And there were towels, lots of them. They batted their eyelashes at me, a come-hither invitation. God, I wanted a shower. As soon as I got home, I'd stand under a piping hot stream of water until last night's sins, even the forgotten ones, were washed away. I crouched and poked on the flat surface of the cabinet below the sink until a door popped open. Inside, I found yet another stack of towels, washcloths, and an industrial-size bottle of aspirin. Nothing else. First things first. Aspirin. I forged a long and valiant battle with the child-proof lid. Victory. I swallowed 3 pills, washing them down with more water from the tap. Then I grabbed a washcloth, sat on the toilet, and pressed the cloth against my foot. It felt good to sit. Spend the day there good. If only he weren't in the bedroom, liable to wake up at any time. I pulled the cloth away from my foot and eyed the cut. A shard of glass glinted in the morning light. Hell. I gritted my teeth and pulled the sliver out of my skin. More blood, an ocean of blood. I should have grabbed 2 washcloths' blood. I pressed the crimson-soaked cloth against the cut. Pressure, that was the ticket. And another washcloth, that was the other ticket. I limped back to the sink, grabbed 2 additional cloths, and held them against my foot until the bleeding stopped. Then I returned to the bedroom. The light had shifted from lavender to lemon. And God bless him, Jake still slept. I spotted my handbag, a black clutch just big enough for my cell, ID, and credit card, on the dresser next to the tequila. Where were the shoes? I wasn't leaving without them. There, one near the foot of the bed, the other on the floor near his head. I tiptoed to the shoe at the bottom of the bed, snagged the sandal, and hung it around my wrist from its strap. Then I crept toward the remaining shoe. Got it. Jake still hadn't moved. At all. He was so deeply asleep, I could brush one last kiss across his lips before I disappeared. He'd never know. Stupid? Totally. What if he woke up? But what if I walked away without kissing him one last time? A kiss I'd actually remember. My eyes filled with tears. I blamed the tequila-induced headache. I inched back the duvet. Jake's head rested on a pillow, and I took a few seconds to memorize his face in repose. He was handsome, in a chiseled Hollywood movie star way. His only visible flaw, a small crescent-shaped scar on his chin. The invisible flaws were many. I rubbed my eyes. I would not cry. Would not. My eyes were bloodshot enough already. He was more trouble than he was worth. He was too good-looking. He was not my type. Liar, liar. He'd broken my heart, twice. I leaned down and brushed a last kiss against his cheek. There. Done. No reason to stay. But I paused. His cheek was clammy. Are you sick? My voice was hardly louder than the hum of the air conditioner. He didn't move. Of course he didn't. He'd slept through my shattering crystal and hopping around the bedroom like a demented kangaroo. A little thing like a whisper would hardly wake him. The smart thing would be to sneak out, disappear. But what if he needed help? I rested my hand against his forehead. His skin was damp and waxy. What was wrong with his mouth? Was that foam? Jake! He didn't move, not an inch. I poked him. Jake? Nothing. Oh my God. Oh my God. I stumbled backward. My heart thudded against my chest. My lungs refused to take in air. I collapsed into an armchair and pressed the heels of my palms against my eye sockets. One of my sandals scratched at my neck. I threw the stilettos onto the floor. Their red soles looked like blood. With shaking fingers, I reached for the phone on the bedside table and dialed 911. What's your emergency? The operator's voice was cool and professional. I need an ambulance. What's your emergency, ma'am? It's my boyfriend. He's cold and clammy, and he's not moving. Is he breathing? Asked the voice. I can't tell. My voice caught. I think he might have overdosed. Do you know his name, ma'am? Of course. Heat rose from my chest to my cheeks. I wasn't that girl, the girl who woke up with questionable men. Except this morning I was. His name is Jake Smith. A few seconds ticked by. Seconds I spent staring at Jake's pale face. Are you there, ma'am? Yes. Talking required effort, and between the pain in my head and the pain in my heart, I was fresh out of effort. Where are you? I looked around the bedroom for clues. There were none. I don't know. How pathetic was that? Are you safe? The operator asked. Yes. What's your name? I could lie. I considered it. But my blood and fingerprints were everywhere. The police would find me. Poppy Fields. There it was, the pause of recognition. When your mother's one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, people knew your name. I'm tracing the landline now, Miss Fields. Help is on the way. Can you tell me what happened? The operator was trained to keep me talking. I knew that. I'd seen it on one of those true crime shows. I woke up and he was like this. Beyond that, everything. The previous night, how we'd come to this place, what we'd done, was lost in a dense fog. The tequila bottle shook its self-righteous head. No one made you drink me. Officers will arrive in approximately 2 minutes. Can you let them in? Yes. I hauled myself out of the chair. My head objected, strongly. How was it possible to hurt this much? Stay on the line with me, Ms. Fields. I'll be fine. Thank you for your help. I put the receiver back in its cradle, gently, and crossed the bedroom. The door opened onto a hallway filled with light. Wincing at the brightness, I made my way to the stairs. My hand closed around the banister, clutched around the banister. A wave of dizziness swept through me. I would not throw up, would not. The police were coming. I had to open the door. Except the door at the bottom of the stairs already stood ajar, allowing a slice of sunlight to cut across the floor, sharp as the pieces of the broken crystal on the bedroom floor. I collapsed onto the bottom step and looked around. I knew where I was. Jake's friend's house. I rested my throbbing head in my hands. Jake would be all right. He had to be. Our story couldn't end this way. Jake being dead wasn't part of a screwball comedy. Jake being dead was tragic. Ma'am? I lifted my head. A police officer in a dark blue uniform stared at me. Are you all right, ma'am? His concern sounded genuine. Jake's upstairs. I gripped the banister and pulled myself to standing. This way. A second police officer entered the foyer. This one regarded me with narrowed eyes, his gaze traveling from my bare feet to the barely there length of my dress. The corner of his upper lip curled. I read his name tag, Officer Crane. How dare he pass judgment? It wasn't like I was a ditzy party girl who drank too much and spent the night with men I shouldn't. Well, not usually. And it wasn't like Jake was a one-night stand. He was an ex I'd hooked up with. Maybe. Why couldn't I remember? This way. I led the police officers up the stairs to the master bedroom. In there. They pushed past me, surveyed the bedroom, tangled sheets, broken crystal, and bloodied floor, and approached the bed. Sir? Is he all right? He wasn't. But pretending felt better than the truth. Officer Crane ignored me. Sir? Jake didn't answer. The police officer poked Jake in the shoulder and got no response. I could have told him poking wouldn't work. Then Officer Crane turned on the bedside lamp and took a good look at the man in the bed. The color leached out of Officer Crane's face. What was wrong? I stepped inside the bedroom. The police officers didn't seem to notice me. Their gazes were fixed on the man in the bed. Officer Crane looked up, spearing me with a glare. What kind of drugs did you take? I shook my head. I didn't take any drugs. What kind did he take? His lip curled until it kissed his nose. He didn't. That I knew of. He didn't. He snorted. We'll see what an autopsy says about that. 2. The sun setting over the Pacific gilded the sky and limned wisps of clouds in shades of crimson and bronze. The glorious colors reflected on the plane's wing. Breathtaking. It was the kind of sunset people from flyover states paid good money to see. I swallowed a yawn and shifted my gaze from the fading sun to the brightest star in Hollywood. His disapproving gaze was settled firmly upon me. Are you going to this resort opening because they're paying you? Yes. The lie was a small one and easier than explaining my need to escape. He pursed his lips. If you're hard up for money, all you need to do is ask. Then, James Ballister offered me the smile that had melted 1,000,000 women's hearts. You know that, right? Anything I have is yours. James and my mother made 4 movies together. Each one grossed more than $500 million. Anything covered a lot of ground. You should be careful. Someday I may take you up on that. He reached across the space that separated us and took my hand. His fingers were warm and dry and elegant. His gaze shifted from my face to the last rays of sunshine glinting off the plane's wing. Then he reached deep within himself and found his soulful expression. If his smile didn't melt a woman's heart, the soulful expression would. Guaranteed. And once her heart was melted, she'd fall in line with his plans. Even I blinked, and I knew the soulful expression was an act, a face practiced in front of a mirror until it was perfect. His grip on my hand tightened. I mean it, Poppy. What's going on with you? If you need money, tell me. I'm fine. And I was, at least when it came to money. I wasn't mega movie star rich, but I wasn't scrounging for my next meal, or even my next first-class plane ticket. I hate flying commercial, and when Sheriff said you were going to Mexico... Honey, you can use my plane anytime. I don't have to be on it. That soulful expression of his, it said he adored me, would do anything for me, would even give me an airplane and its crew. There were 3 things the movie ticket-buying public didn't know about James Ballister. 1, he was genuinely nice. 2, he was incredibly generous. 3, he was gay. America's heartthrob preferred men. For all the talk about acceptance and rainbows and inclusion, women still wanted the man they were lusting after to lust after them. James was so deeply in the closet, he had 1 foot in Narnia. He amped up the soulful look. His eyes shone, his lips parted. He looked as if he was about to offer to walk through hell and back for me. Tell me why you're going to this resort. I'm doing a favor for a friend. He raised a brow and tilted his head, a silent demand for a better answer. I didn't have a better answer. Andre promised them A-listers. Not a lie, but not the truth. Telling the truth might break me. Lying to James, I squeezed his hand, was wrong. When my dad disappeared and I moved in with Sheriff, it was James who acted like a parent, not Sheriff. Sheriff never wanted to be a mother. Not when I was a baby. Certainly not when I was a teenager with an attitude. For nearly 10 years, James, not the woman who'd given birth to me, had been the closest thing I had to family. André Duchamp? James' lips thinned, and the space between his eyes scrunched together, as if even the mention of André's name was distasteful. James judged Andre based on his father's sins. And an epic flop was as big a sin as there was in Hollywood. Yes, André Duchamp. James released my hand and crossed his arms over his chest. Let me guess. The Duchamp kid didn't get any A-listers, so he needed you. The Duchamp kid? Really?
Sample complete. Ready to continue?